Detroit Lake City Council is called to order, and at this time I'd like to invite you all to please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. The minutes of the regular city council meeting are before the council. That meeting was held February 13th, 2018. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the council that wishes to make any changes or corrections of the minutes? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting that was held February 13th, 2018. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. The consent agenda is before the council. All items with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered separately in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the council that wishes to either add or remove an item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed.
So moved.
Second. Motion made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Discussion. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I'll adjourn the regular meeting and call to order a public hearing for the purpose of hearing from representatives from Train who are here before the council to review the pact agreement and pro forma for the Detroit Lakes Community and Cultural Center. Kelsey, do you need any introduction before we go into that presentation?
I'm not sure who's going to do the presentation, so I'll probably just let them do the introduction.
Okay. Welcome.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having us. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. Thank you. I even get control. So basically, I'm here with my colleagues. I'm Kathleen Donovan. Amy Dorsett, Scott Rietzema, and Tim Olson are also here from Train. And we were here at the end of last year to talk about the project we've been working on with Stu and the city to look at updates at the DLCCC. So what we'll be talking about today really briefly is the investment grade audit that we did over the past few months and some of the energy conservation measures that we discovered at the Community and Cultural Center. So briefly, obviously the Community and Cultural Center is two different buildings, one being the theater and one being the community center with the pool and the fitness center. Two very different uses, two different systems put in place. We did a preliminary audit before we did the investment grade audit to look at different opportunities that you see listed there, the HVAC, thermal storage, the controls, lighting, and building envelope. One of the things that we did with Stu and the city was talk to them about some of their goals as we looked at this project. Basically, there was a lot of deferred maintenance that needed to be addressed at the DLCCC. Resolving those performance issues was important. Updating the systems and equipment as it was reaching end of life was also something that they wanted to achieve. And doing that with as little risk to the Detroit Lakes and the DLCCC. And really we found a procurement method that allowed for a budget neutral approach through performance contract to achieve building a project and dealing with a lot of that deferred maintenance. So what we did is a very comprehensive and holistic approach to this project. We looked at all their systems, controls, and basically the equipment, because they were having a number of issues and concerns around the noise, temperature, humidity, the systems and how they integrated airflow, indoor air quality. And that was throughout the building. At different areas it was worse than others, better in some different areas. So we looked at performance, first cost, doing retrofits versus replacement. We looked at a number of different ways to put a project together. So at the end of the day, we came up with a list of the recommended energy conservation measures, which you'll see as ECMs, and you see them categorized in the mechanical, electrical, lighting, controls, and building envelope and plumbing categories. So what you'll see in red there is the pool boiler. That was completed back in December and has been running for the last couple of months and doing very well. The other areas for the mechanical and HVAC area that were identified were the theater HVAC systems, the fitness HVAC, the central plant chilled water, the chiller system, the air handling unit, rooftop unit repairs, and some thermal storage. So from there, you look at the electrical and lighting. Basically, that's the interior and exterior lighting, doing the retrofits or replacements for that. And then building controls. And again, the system is very old and reached end of life, so looking at a replacement of the control system. And then building envelope, which is basically looking at the doors and windows, sealing them up, whether it's with caulk or door seals, to create less air infiltration. And then finally with water efficiency upgrades and looking at low flow options to save water and energy and money through that. So what we do is we take those ECMs and we put it in a cost-benefit analysis. And so on the left, you're going to see the energy conservation measures listed out. The next two columns are the annual savings. The first column being the utility savings for each ECM. The next being the operation and maintenance savings for each ECM as well. The next two columns that you see highlighted at the top of blue, the one-time savings, are the capital cost avoidance and then the utility rebate. So from that, you're looking at the investment, and the capital investment is the cost for each ECM. And then you look at the simple payback in years. So at the bottom, you're seeing the total that we came up with. So utility savings, you're seeing at almost $89,000 on an annual basis. The operation and maintenance is sitting at $38,000. Then the one-time savings is at around $50,000 for the capital cost avoidance, as well as utility rebate at $49,000. So those numbers are used to pay for the project, which comes in at $1.8 million, or a little bit over that. So we take that number, and I know this is a little bit more challenging to read because there's a lot of numbers on a screen that's a little bit smaller, but if you bear with me, we put together a pro forma, and that's over 15 years. And basically, this is put at 3.6%. It's a conservative approach to this. So we have the years outlined 1 through 15 on the left. You'll see the utility savings, operational savings. Those numbers are inputted in the first couple of columns, and you see the totals at the bottom over those 15 years. The capital cost avoidance as well has been split up into 5 years, and that's sitting at around that $50,000. And then you're looking at the service agreements. There's an existing service agreement as well as the new service agreement that would be in place to take care of all of the equipment. Then we come to the M&V cost, and really that's where we look at doing our guarantee. So we have that for 3 years, and basically that is there for us to look over the building annually. We're watching to see what's happening. We come to you at the end of the year, each year, with a report to say, what were those utility savings? Did they meet or exceed what we guaranteed? So that is only for the first 3 years. There is an option to continue if you want to continue seeing those savings, or see the report, I should say. So the net savings at the end of this is a little over $2.3 million. And that is used to pay for the project over the next 15 years. So you see the outstanding principal, and then the principal itself, as well as the interest payments. And those two numbers add up to the finance cost at the very end there, which is sitting at another 2.3, almost 2.4 million. So at the end of the 15 years, you're looking at a cash positive of $53,000. And throughout this, each year, it is cash positive. So we really wanted to emphasize being budget neutral, making sure that the DLCCC can pay for this year over year, and ensuring and guaranteeing the project. making sure it's low risk for the city as well as the DLCCC, as well as taking care of a lot of deferred maintenance needs that this DLCC currently has. With that, I will turn it back over to Kelsey, but really the next steps are for the city to look at passing a resolution to approve the contract. I know that Kelsey will go into more detail on that, as well as the financing, the procurement of financing. So with that, if you have any questions or comments.
Anyone in the council have any questions for Kathleen about the presentation?
I guess one question there, it mentioned ice storage. Are we putting a third hockey rink in?
No.
I guess I don't know what that would be.
No, absolutely. That's a great question. No, that is not to put in a third ice rink, which I know would go over really big here. Basically, that's the thermal storage is a way to cool the water, and I should have Tim actually answer.
What we do is when the demand charges are at the lowest in the utility, they're zero, with a certain number of hours that we're going to make ice with chillers, and the chiller are well cheap to use up to make ice. Then the rest of the 16 hours facility runs off that ice melting, creates cooling. Chunks of ice sat down and block ice, do some melting from that.
Thank you.
Further questions?
What happens if something happened, you know, like there was a fire at DLCCC or they needed to upgrade something? I mean, these are numbers as the building is right now. But if something changes between now and year 15, does that guarantee still hold?
Well, we currently have that measurement and verification guarantee for 3 years. So it's up to the city and the DLCCC if they want to continue with that after that. That's a discussion at that time. Usually what we see is clients see that the program is working and they don't want to continue spending a fee for that money. They'd rather put the money back into the project. If there's things like fires and such, that's obviously outside of our control. You know, that's something that gets taken care of separately. But in terms of upgrades and such, upgrades happen over time. But what we see is that the equipment that's being installed has an average life of over 21 years. So you're going to get a lot of use out of it, and as well as probably then some. Proper maintenance and such, you get a lot of time out of this equipment. Did I answer your question? Okay.
Further questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And that public hearing is closed, and I would entertain a motion from the council to adopt the resolution authorizing the improvements and ordering the preparation of plans and specs for the energy savings improvements at the DLCCC.
Your Honor, the Finance Committee reviewed this today, went over the pro forma and the information, recommend approval of that motion, and I so moved.
Second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to authorize improvements and ordering the preparation of plans and specs for the energy savings improvements at the community center. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion is carried. Thank you very much for coming this evening. At this time, I'll call to order a public hearing to hear from our new Northwest Water Carnival co-admirals, Natalie Bly and Andy Castagneri, and they're here this evening and would like to appear before the council. So Andy and Natalie, come on up.
Good evening.
Hi.
Would you like us to cover what we've changed this year, or just our scheduled events?
You know what? Probably what you've changed. I think most of the council has gone through several water carnivals and they kind of know the drill. So probably just the changes would be good.
Okay, for this year's 83rd Water Carnival, the changes we have made, we have removed one event. That was Sweet Summer Nights, typically held on Monday nights. So that is now off the schedule. And we have added a street dance, and an additional night of music for a 2-day show for Bash on the Beach. High level, those are our changes.
For the street dance, we would be requesting that you close Westlake Drive from Lake Avenue to Minnesota Avenue.
That's probably the biggest change this year, other than the 2 nights of the concert, right?
Correct.
Yep. So, any questions from the council on those changes? Otherwise, it's pretty much the same as we've seen for many years in Detroit Lakes. So. Okay. What action do we take here, Kelsey?
Usually there's an action by the council to approve their request. The details of their request are actually in the letter underneath the Public Works Committee. There's kind of a detailed list of all the different street closures and events. And in the past, we've just had council action on that.
So should we go to item
B1?
Where is it?
Front page.
No, but was it on the Public Works?
I'm sorry, I was wrong about that. It's actually B1.
Okay, you're correct. Okay, hearing no further questions, I guess I would entertain a motion to approve the request to have the 83rd Annual Northwest Water Carnival.
So moved. Public Works had a chance to take a look at this and recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the request of the 83rd Annual Northwest Water Carnival for all the various licenses and permits and street closings, etc. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. I can't wait. It's going to be nice and warm and sunny and no snow.
Right.
Thank you.
Wait a little while.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll call to order a public hearing to give consideration to the establishment of redevelopment project number 37, the redevelopment plan and establishment of tax increment financing district 37-1, and I would call on our community development director, Larry Remmen. Larry?
This is an Apex townhouse project. It would be 30 units of affordable housing in a townhouse style. The total project cost is just over $7 million, and they have requested $392,000 in tax increment financing. The Development Authority has reviewed this and has approved it, and we would ask that the City Council approve the tax increment financing tonight.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to the issue of the proposed TIF for the redevelopment financing district number 37-1? Yes, sir. If you would just please, for our minutes, identify yourself and your address.
Skip Duchesneau, 7539 Front Street, Walker, Minnesota.
Thank you.
I just wanted to let you know that as a representative of DW Jones and Andrew as DW Jones, we're here to answer any questions you might have. We have some plans and some drawings if you're so inclined, and we could go into some detail, but it's up to you if you would like us to do that.
We're trying to get out of here to watch the Wild game at 7:30.
It seems like things are moving along, so I don't have to say anything if you don't want me to.
I'm just kidding. Is there any questions for Skip? Any questions on the project or concerns? Okay.
I think one thing that we just had a housing study that was completed, and the housing study came back and said that we need a lot of income-based housing, and we haven't been able to do this for quite a few years now. And this Apex firm has been able to come up with to get the money that it needs so we can get that, along with help with tax increment finance to make this possible. But it's something that we really do need in Detroit Lakes, and there's a lot of people that need a place to live, and this will make an affordable housing for them.
Yeah, it's highly competitive, the money, and the TIF that you guys are considering allowed us to leverage a lot of state dollars and some federal dollars to make the project work. And without the TIF, we would not have been able to access those funds. And so we're, assuming you approve it, we're appreciative of that. Our timeline is we're hoping to close in August of this year. So by June of 2019, we'd be ready to start moving people in.
Further questions? Okay, hearing none, that public hearing is closed, and I would entertain a approval of a resolution approving the redevelopment project 37 and the TIF District 37-1.
Okay, the Community Development Committee recommends the resolution approving the development project number 37 in the redevelopment plan, therefore for approving the tax increment financing district 37-1 and the tax increment financing plan, therefore authorizing the execution of this development in agreement. I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution for redevelopment project 37 and the TIF district 37-1. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Well, thank you for investing in Detroit Lakes, and thank you for bringing us some more housing units. We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll call to order a public hearing to give or receive public comments on the proposed vacation of public road right-of-way at 132 Shorewood Drive. And again, I would call on Community Development Director Larry Remen on.
This is a vacation that is similar to other vacations we've had in this area. There's an old road right-of-way between the existing road and the lake, and occasionally people will come forward with a survey showing that where the old road right-of-way is and requesting that it be vacated. And this is another one of those, and I would recommend that we vacate this right-of-way.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to the issue of vacation of a public road right-of-way at 132 Shorewood Drive?
Certainly kind of needed, but I don't want to get in the way of hockey.
Okay, good. Good idea, Sam. I like it. Hearing none, that public hearing is closed, and I would entertain a motion.
The CDC committee looked at this, and then we give a full consideration of the resolution ordering the vacation of public road right away at 132 Shorewood Drive, Kirkland Beach. And I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to vacate a part of the public road right away at 132 Shorewood Drive. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, that motion carries. Okay, I think that's it for the public hearings. Without objection of the council, can we move to item 6G and 6H? Mitch Wimmer is here regarding the pickleball fundraising things. Mitch, you want to say anything, or are you just here for those items?
No, I'll just say, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of update you where we are with that project. Take me about 1 minute. The project's going great. The people from the city, Pam is taking donations. They're online. It's working seamless. Tom has done a great job. Brad, those are the three I've met with mostly, and then Kelsey. And I just looked at today, we're up to about $98,000 in pledges right now. We're looking at 200,000. Now, one of the things that we did differently with this project and other fundraising project is we asked all the local pickleball players to reach into their pockets before we started talking to any companies. So we've just started talking to corporations and stuff like that. And so the pickleball players themselves put in somewhere $35,000 to $40,000, and that's just out of their own, own money. And so it's going great. Obviously, we didn't make the March 1 date, so we're asking for a little extension for that. But it's going wonderful, and Pam is taking on that, getting the dollars, and she sends me a report every Friday and say, here's what we have in cash. I have no question that if we needed to have the $60,000 in cash real shortly, there's enough major contributors on there that all of you would recognize that we could just call and say, could you make your pledge now? So I'm not concerned about that at all. Obviously, that's your job to be concerned about that, but it's going great. Our committee meets every Friday by a phone meeting because I'm generally down. I'm going back to Florida on Saturday. Dave Welty's down in Florida. We're all scattered around, but we keep in contact. So it's going great. And again, Brad and Tom have worked really hard on this, and we appreciate all the help.
So Mitch, you want to just touch base on the naming rights that you're also requesting?
Yeah, we've also requested naming rights of each court. So we'd have 6 courts at People's Park, and we'd have depending on, you know, we're looking at four courts on the outer areas if you do 2 at each. And I talked to Brad the other day, and those two, you know, you could build 2 tennis courts, however you guys want to do those parks, but you could build 2 tennis courts and you could line 1 court with 2 pickleball courts. So it's not like you'd have to build those separately or anything like that. So that would be, but yeah, we've got three folks right now that would like to name a court. So got 3 commitments at $20,000.
And Brad and Tom, the park board, is okay with that naming
Yes,
thing, right?
We've been studying this for over a year, and we wanted that naming rights and different things that are fundraising. The city really hasn't been involved in a lot of that. And yes, the park board discussed it, and we agreed and made a motion to pass
Okay, thanks, Mitch. Jay, should we just take G and H then?
We do them both together?
Sure.
Okay, so Public Works Committee recommends approval of item 6G and H, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to extend the fundraising deadline for the pickleball committee to May 1st, and also to allow them to have naming rights for certain qualified donors on each pickleball court. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thanks, Mitch.
Thank you much.
You bet. I don't see anybody else here that's anything specific, so we'll go to the Community Development Committee. Ron?
Okay, the first one is discussion on the vacation rental by owners, VRBO, and Larry, do you want to talk about this, or Kelsey, which one you want to talk about this a little bit? This is for discussion only, basically, but.
Mayor, Council, I think maybe I preface this item really came up at a Tourism Bureau meeting about a question about, you know, there are some vacation rental by owners situations within the city that if anyone goes onto one of their websites, you can find a couple. And the issue was really raised about collecting the lodging tax from these short-term vacation rentals. And that kind of led into a discussion about really what is permitted in the city. And that's the discussion we had at the CDC meeting was it's kind of a hot topic for a lot of cities. There's a lot of information out there. There's some sample ordinances, and you know, does the city council, the city want to permit these short-term vacation rentals, and if so, what type of regulations do we want to put on it? So the CDC asked staff to go back and look at those model ordinances and come back with some sort of recommendation at a future meeting.
So no action, Ron?
No action on that. Thank you for doing that too, Ken.
Can I hold you up 1 second?
Sure.
Wayne, do you have something you'd like me to move on here?
Just a minute.
You look good with the tie and stuff, though. Okay.
On item 5B, the consideration to a resolution approving a variance to allow a construction of a new wastewater treatment facility with a 9-foot side yard setback instead of a 30-foot side yard setback at 1044 Willow Street West. The committee looked over this matter, and I so move.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded to deny a variance request at I'm sorry, to approve a variance request.
Renell's having a heart attack back here.
We certainly don't want to stop this one, do we, Renell? To approve a variance for the new wastewater treatment facility. Discussion on the motion?
Maybe Larry wants to, or Renell wants to explain what's happening with that for the folks out there. That's what it's being said.
Yeah, this is just to get our building for our influence structure stuck in behind the existing structures and stuff piled up that property line a little bit. So, yeah, after a couple meetings on this, we've approved this so far, so we appreciate it. The graders showed up, trailers are showing up, and things are going to start happening in the next few days. So, cool.
I signed something about that thick. For the money.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Further discussion? Or did we already vote? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item C, consideration to a resolution denying a variance to allow a 15-foot front yard setback instead of a 30-foot yard setback to allow 6 parking spaces instead of 8 spaces at 106 Willow Street West. The Planning Commission recommended the deny of this, and the CDC also moved to go along with that. I suppose denying of this.
Motion's been made and seconded to deny a variance at 106 Willow Street West. Discussion on the motion?
I was wondering why.
Does someone?
Larry, you want to?
The Planning Commission reviewed the request, and I think they felt that parking in that particular area was difficult, and that allowing an addition to a building where they couldn't provide the required off-street parking was something that they didn't want to continue to do in that area, and so they recommended denial.
Was there any appetite, Larry, for allowing the setback possibly, but maybe not the parking, or?
Well, it's difficult to allow the addition if you don't have the parking. That they go together. So.
Okay. Further discussion or questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5D, consideration of resolution of approval of the preliminary plat for the Long Pine Estates addition at 915 Village Lane. These are twin homes for on 6 lots. Larry, do you want to maybe explain that?
You did a pretty good job. It's a 6-lot plat. They're planning to do twin homes there. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, the committee reviewed this, and I so move that we approve this.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the preliminary plat for Long Pines Estates addition. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item E, consideration of resolution approving the variance to allow a car wash to be converted into an office space with 0 to 2 parking spaces instead of the required 9 parking spaces at 600 Washington Avenue North. This is the old car wash from Roman Lindbergh days by the railroad tracks. The committee recommends to go through with this, and I so move.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a variance to allow a car wash to be converted into an office with 0 to 2 spaces instead of 9 parking spaces at 600 Washington. Can I just ask why? Explain the parking if you would, Larry, or the thinking behind it.
The current building on this site is about 1,100 square feet. It would require 9 parking spaces if it's converted from a car wash to an office building. The Planning Commission has recommended that they remove part of the building, and they would be allowed then to have an 800 square foot office building with 3 parking spaces on the site. That was the recommendation of the Planning Commission. So the request was different than what the Planning Commission recommended.
So are we approving 0 to 2 parking spaces?
You would be approving what the Planning Commission recommended, which is 800 square feet and 3 parking spaces on site.
And they're also going to have to do some work with the railroad over there too, so it's going to get all this to work out. And it's going to be insurance offices, from what I understand.
So why is that okay if they have 3 instead of 9, but not first
We're cutting that building size down.
Well, yeah, the difference is the different location and the different circumstance. That instead of allowing an addition, they're requiring that they remove part of the structure in order to provide some on-site parking. So,
okay. Further questions? Let's see. We need a motion, but let's make sure we get the motion with the 800 square foot building and the 3 parking spaces. So.
Okay, so the motion would be up to 3 spaces then. It would be changed from 11 square feet down to 800 square feet.
Okay, it has to have 3 spaces, right?
2
yeah,
spaces.
okay.
Yeah.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution allowing a variance for a car wash to be converted into an office with 3 parking spaces and the building reduced to 800 square feet at 600 Washington Avenue North. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item F, consideration of resolution accepting a land donation to the Detroit Lakes Development Authority. This is on the EFCO petroleum site. And Larry, do you want to explain that a little bit more on that?
the Detroit Lakes Development Authority owns a lot over by Evco Petroleum, it's mostly wetland. There's a small part of it up by the road that's high ground. And they would like to deed it to the city for stormwater runoff purposes. The Development Authority has held it for more than 7 years, and so at that point they have to start paying taxes. And rather than continue to pay taxes on this lot that has little or no value, they would like to deed it to the city for stormwater use.
Okay. Ron, do you want to make a motion?
The committee recommends, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the land donation from the Detroit Lakes Development Authority. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item G, consideration to approving correction to the Village Estates plat. And this is about a spelling of a name. And Larry, do you want to explain that?
The plat makes reference to Deer Haven Estates, and they left the N off. And so in order to correct that, they need to have you approve this resolution authorizing this correction. Otherwise, they would have to go back and reprint all of those plats to record them. So it just makes more sense to do this since the error is minor and everybody still understands what they meant.
Okay.
The committee recommends the correction of the spelling of this name. I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the spelling correction for Village Estates plat. Discussion on the motion.
Deer Haven.
The correction is to the plat of Village Estates, but that plat referred to Deer Haven Estates in the text of it, and they made a spelling error.
Sorry, hold up.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item H, consideration of first reading of ordinance of 424, amending the zoning ordinance to replace section 10 to change the name of the R-LB district and changing the height requirements to match the height limit in the B1 district. The committee recommends, and I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. The motion's been made and seconded. Are there questions or discussion? Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, Larry, you talked a little bit about having changed the ordinance and how this works in this big drive.
Okay. There's two reasons that we looked at changing the RLB district to the Lakefront Business District. First of all, it's partly related to our shoreland ordinance because we needed to make sure that it was clear that that was a commercial district and not a residential district. So by renaming it, we're making it clear that it is a commercial district that allows residential use. The second reason for changing the ordinance is related to our Westlake Drive study, which shows some more intensive use in that area, and so it would allow taller buildings along Westlake Drive. The shoreland ordinance still restricts height limits to 25 feet, especially in riparian areas, even with the proposed changes that we're making to that shoreland ordinance. So this shoreland ordinance would override this in the RLB district, but it would still allow higher building heights when you're off the lake.
So are any of the lots along Westlake Drive that they're non-riparian?
They're non-riparian, correct.
Did you have, go ahead, Jamie. Yeah, go ahead.
Did I?
Talk a little bit about like how much of this is a pretty big change.
Oh, the change, the current ordinance allows 45 feet for part of the district, and it only allows 25 feet if they're riparian lots or if they're near residential development. So it's a significant change.
Can you say that again?
Okay. The ordinance that we're proposing would allow buildings to be 60 feet high. The current ordinance allows them to be 45 feet high, but in some areas it restricts them to 25 feet, such as riparian lots and if they're adjacent to 1 and 2 family residential districts.
But there are no riparian lots in this district, correct? Or is this district extend around the lake and other areas too, right? Okay, yeah, okay.
This runs from Washington Avenue to Easy Road. It includes area of it along North Shore Drive.
All of those could have 60-foot buildings.
The lots that are not on lake would be allowed to have 60-foot buildings.
So basically, it would be Westlake Drive only from Washington to Legion. I can't think of another area that's not, that's, the rest are riparian, aren't they?
Correct.
I know you wanted to get this
I don't
out.
think that's on, oh, is it?
It can't be on the paper.
Oh.
So I know that you wanted to get this out in front of the council at this time, and I think it's good that the public is aware that this change is being proposed. But we haven't adopted our Westlake Drive plan, so I mean, I'm gonna vote yes on the first reading, but I think it remains to be seen whether the council is gonna, approve the 60 feet.
Yeah, it's first reading, so we'll have this back again for next month.
It is first reading, but it also goes along, and the reason for this change is that in order for us to, if we're gonna do any of the changes recommended by our design group out of Omaha, RDG, we would need to have some of this to happen, otherwise those plans wouldn't be able to come through on us. So that's part of the reason this is a first reading of it. Well, I'm sure we'll be having a lot of discussion on it.
Okay, further questions, comments, discussion? This will be to give first reading. And we did have a motion and Jamie second, so all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries and first reading of ordinance 424 is given.
Okay, next item is I, consideration of a first reading of ordinance number 425, amending the zoning ordinance relative to procedures for planned unit development in the lapse of variance or conditional use permit. And this was a correction from before, is that correct, Larry?
Yeah, that's correct. This ordinance would allow variances and planned unit developments and conditional use permits to lapse automatically after 12 months instead of requiring a hearing to say that they're no longer in use. And we think that's a better process.
Okay, so the committee review this and recommends approval of ordinance number 425, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 425. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. First reading is given. Anything else, Ron?
That's all, Your Honor.
Okey-doke. Jay, we have the Public Works agenda.
All right, item 6A, update regarding the architectural RFP for the Public Works facility. John, you want to handle that, or Kelsey?
I think that's probably in my court. We received several proposals. What we talked about at the Public Works Committee is requested staff to kind of go through and score the applications, try to whittle it down to maybe 3 or 4 the proposals for interview, and we'll probably schedule a separate meeting with Public Works Committee to do the actual interviews. So the plan is, again, staff will work on scoring those proposals and bring back a recommendation in April for who to interview.
Sounds good. That was just for
no action there, Jay, just an update. Okay.
Item B, also, we just had a discussion regarding the annexation of Broadlawn Estates. We've got a little direction here. Do we need to go into that with this, Kelsey?
Mayor and Council, I think the only thing I'd add is we need the annexation to be completed before we can move ahead with the project. And that's what the discussion was, is regarding the terms of the assessments and trying to obtain that last signature to get the annexation done. So I think we have clear direction, staff has clear direction. We'll go back and talk to the property owner, but again, if we can't get the annexation to take place, then we won't do the project.
Okay. Very good.
So item C, consideration of the request from Raymond Redding to amend the assessment terms for Long Pine Estates Phase 1. Public Works Committee looked at this and recommends denial, and I so move.
There's a motion and a second to deny the request from Raymond Redding to amend his assessment terms for the Long Pines Estate Phase 1. And I'll just make a comment. I got a call from Raymond, and he basically, what he told me was all he's asking for is to be treated the same as we did for the Marty Salmon project. And so because Raymond's not here, I told him I would I would explain that, so maybe that's in his letter. It probably is, yeah, I think it is. So, discussion on the motion?
Just so I'm aware, what is the difference? Between the
Larry
two
or
projects?
Kelsey, do you want to explain the difference between the two?
Difference between the two is that one is often is given a project.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So item D, consideration to a resolution of support for a local trail connection grant for a multi-use trail on Westlake Drive from County 6 to Pelican River. Brad, do you want to tell us about this one?
Well, and we did also run this through the park board too. Larry put together a grant to help us clean trail. We're looking for cost share. We have the county yet. We're assuming the department is on that street between 106 and
Okay. So Public Works Committee recommends approval and I so move.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt a resolution of support for the local trail connection grant for the multi-use trail that's proposed from Westlake Drive, on Westlake Drive from County 6 to Pelican River. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So item E, consideration authorizing improvements and ordering the preparation of plans and specifications for the Randolph Road Improvement Project. Mr. Bratt?
John, do you want to give a, we're rolling pretty good here, so a brief
So we'll mess
overview.
this up. This is a project we've been discussing for the last time. It's a technicality that's in council authorization. Proceed with preparation of final plans and specs for the lake. Up to 10 months ago, we've done so I'd like to get that.
Just for the public's benefit, we have the press here. We're upgrading Randolph Road from Chris Street out to County 54.
This is a component of a larger project that's going to involve signal changes at Chris Street that should improve that situation dramatically.
And signals
and new signals at 54. The impetus is that we're going to be pushing more traffic down Randolph Road from Chris Street and some things that's from Randolph Road. Some of the Second Street, some of these
Thanks, John. Okey doke.
So Public Works recommends approval and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to authorize improvements and order the preparation of plans and specifications for the Randolph Road Improvement Project. Discussion, further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries.
All right, item 6F, consideration to approving the temporary ground lease agreement with the Boys and Girls Club of Detroit Lakes. March 1st, 2018 through the completion for the site improvements for August 31st, 2019, whichever occurs last. Who wants to speak to that? I suppose Kelsey.
Mayor and council, a couple months ago, the council approved kind of a long-term lease agreement for the Boys and Girls Club, and that really dealt with the land that the building sits on. But as you know, the project is a pretty substantial project where it's going to require a lot of site improvements, parking lot improvements, park improvements. So basically the footprint that they're going to be disturbing is quite a bit larger than what was in that original lease agreement. So this temporary lease agreement would basically give them authorization to do all those improvements kind of through a much larger section of the park. Once the project is done, that footprint will shrink back down to basically the building footprint, which is then where the long-term lease is.
Okay. So Public Works Committee recommends approval and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a temporary ground lease agreement with Boys and Girls Club from March 1st and through August 31st, 2019, whichever occurs last. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Anything else, Jake?
No, sir.
We'll go to the Finance Committee. Dan?
Your Honor, have handed out in front of you a new procurement policy or purchasing policy. This revised policy brings us into line with federal requirements, allowing us to apply for and obtain federal funding for different projects. The Finance Committee reviewed this policy, recommended approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the city's, actually it's revisions to the city's purchasing policy, correct? Great. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item B is the second reading and adoption of ordinance 422, which amends the dock license application. It cites state code, if I remember right, Kelsey, that was the
reference state statute, correct?
State statute,
Yep.
yeah, thank you. Again, this is the second reading. The Finance Committee reviewed and recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give second reading and adopt ordinance number 422. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And item C, Your Honor, is basically doing the same thing with ordinance 423, again referencing state statute in regards to liability insurance requirements. Again, it was reviewed by the Finance Committee. We recommended approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to give second reading and adopt ordinance number 423 regarding liability insurance requirements for sidewalk cafes. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Anything else, Dan?
That's all, Your Honor. Thank you.
We'll go to the public safety.
Item 8A, consideration to requesting quotes for air packs for the fire department. Chief, anything to discuss, bring up with this one?
No, narrowed it down to the staff, so we don't have to do that $150,000 grant. And you're the goal on that to achieve the grant, so.
Sounds good. I know we discussed this yesterday at the Public Safety Committee, and we recommend approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to allow the fire department to go out for quotes for 30 air packs, new air packs for the fire department. And also of note is that we've received a $168,000 federal grant, right, Chief?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
And we're 5% of the total
Yeah.
above that, okay. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
One thing I request, Chief, when you get those in, would you bring those in
Yes.
to show them off? You had them yesterday there, and I thought they were a pretty neat piece of equipment that I think the public would like to see. Okay. Thank you. Item 8B, consideration to a resolution approving the master subscriber agreement for Minnesota Court Data Services for governmental agencies. This is basically, Kelsey, I'm going to take a crack at this one, gives us permission to go online so we can get our own court documents for the police department.
Close enough, I think.
Okay, we discussed this, we figured it'd be a good thing that we can get online and do this, so I recommend approval and so move.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution approving the master subscriber agreement for Minnesota Court Data Services for our governmental agencies, specifically the police department. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. That should be it.
Yes, sir.
And we have, I think, just one item on the liquor gambling. Jamie?
Item 9A is consideration to the request from the Becker County Food Pantry for a cash donation. This is an item that was discussed in committee today. We decided on a donation amount of $200. And just FYI, we also do some in-kind donating to the food pantry. We provide a building as well as the heating and electricity for the building, which in 2017 was about $3,300. We also make repairs to the building on an ongoing basis. So the motion is for a $200 donation, and I so move.
Thanks.
Motion's been made and seconded to donate $200 to the Becker County Food Pantry. And I know when they get cash donations like this, aren't they able to leverage their money and get like 3 times as much food for the, yeah, so. Yeah. Okay, discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. And that was it, Jamie, right on there? Okay. Madeline, was there anything that you needed to bring to the council on the public utilities side?
Yes, we'd just like to invite everybody to come to the groundbreaking for our new water treatment plant. April 9th, that's a Monday at 1 o'clock. Randolph promises he'll have gold shovels for us. That's it. Or gold looking shovels.
You're gonna send out an email reminding too, right? For now? Okay, thank you. Yeah, that'll be a good one. Okay. City administrative items, any items to bring before the council? I do have a couple of appointments that will need to be made for the HRA board. And I do have one name that is gonna be submitted to me, but if anyone in the council has other names that they know might be interested in being on the HRA board, please let me know. We need to have an elected official to serve on the Fire Department Relief Association. Typically, cities will have the mayor do that, so I'm willing to do that. Do I need to be officially appointed, or can I just appoint myself?
We'll call you the appointee.
Okay, thank you. And also, we had a tourism bureau opening because I think we had Dave Langworthy last month, but he's no longer a member of the chamber. So I'd like to recommend replacing Dave Langworthy with Tony Schmitz from Detroit Mountain to serve on the tourism bureau. So I would entertain a motion for his approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made second to approve Tony Schmitz for the tourism bureau. Discussion. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Announcements and information. A is already done. Past history. The 2018 countywide noxious weed meeting is Thursday, March 22nd in Callaway. That's an absolute must meeting. You've got to be at that one, right? I suppose, Brad, you better go. Yeah, the Detroit Lakes Fire Department banquet is Saturday, March 24th at 6 p.m. at the Holiday Inn. So, Chief, you want to just tell us what the banquet's all about? Open to the public, though? And...
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody can come. $40 ticket. You don't supervise it. You can drawing. Any other games you can draw.
And the proceeds support the fire department. Okay. Our next joint governance meeting is April 3rd at 7 a.m. at the David Donahauer Funeral Home. That's kind of an interesting place to have it, but okay. Also, our Board of Equalization is going to be meeting on April 25th at the courthouse, 9 a.m. And right now on that board, we have Jamie, Dan Josephson, and Ron. Are you guys all okay to be there on that day at that time that you know of? If not, you can get a hold of me and I would serve as an alternative if you have a problem. So, okay. And of course, there's a list of all the alderman positions coming up this fall. I'm sure you all know about those. With that, is there anything else we need from the city staff to address tonight? Chief?
We got the sewer associate that will be fairly high profile in the news this afternoon, so you will want to read our Facebook, police department Facebook page, just after board meeting.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to read that before I answer my phone then, right?
I don't want to do this here.
All right, anything else, Dan? Madeline? Dan?
I do have something. The council is invited to attend a forum as well as members of the public and city staff. It's on Sunday, March 25th. It's called Nowhere to Lay Their Head, Homelessness in Becker County, 2 to 4 p.m. in the Aspen Room at Ecumen. It's put on by the Congregational Church in town, but there are many speakers, Becker County Energize and so on, participating in this. So everyone's invited.
March 25th at 2 to 4 p.m.
Yep.
At Ecumen. Thanks, Jamie. Matt? No, sir. Ron? Jay?
No, sir.
Barb? No. The business of this council has come to a conclusion. The meeting is adjourned.